Happy New Year and welcome to 2020.
First episode of the year, feeling ready?
Yes, of course.
Let's go. So welcome to Early Years Weekly, episode number 16, and we're kicking off this week's episode with our New Year's wish list.
So Nursery World published an article that kind of went through the thoughts from some experts on the wish list for 2020. The general concern was with Brexit and the NHS, etc., actually pushing early years down the agenda, which is obviously something to worry about.
Definitely want to make sure that all that doesn't take away from the problems that the early years sector's facing. The stuff we know already from 2019, like underfunding and children's centres closures, need to make sure that's top of the agenda, and definitely agree with those points. One of the really interesting things for me was an argument that one of the experts made about making sure that preparation for parenthood was part of the national curriculum. I think it's a really interesting idea to make sure that all children end up being prepared for the rigours of parenthood whenever it might come up.
Yeah, something else that kind of stood out to me was the qualifications and how these very passionate individuals are doing courses and sometimes degrees that they feel will prepare them to be practitioners and teachers, when actually the training isn't sufficient and they come out actually not being able to apply for these qualified roles.
Definitely some great stuff in there. Would recommend giving it a read through, and please let us know in the comments down below what's on your wish list for 2020. So something we've talked about a lot on the show before is gender equality in the early years, and how practitioners can do more to make sure that they're making sure that children have the right ideas about gender roles in society. And this week we had the results from a pilot by Lifting Limits. Now they've been working with this school to see how they can change children's attitudes towards toys. Their report on the pilot talks about how once the idea of girls' jobs and boys' jobs takes hold, the unusual gender outcomes seen in later life become almost inevitable, and that's something that they want to change.
Yeah, and we actually had a quote from Gina Rippon, who is a professor at Aston University, and she said, "Research shows that from the age of 2, children become gender detectives, rapidly absorbing the social significance of colour coding in their world, so pink for girls, blue for boys, and noting that there are also boys' toys, for example, Lego and tractors, and girls' toys, dolls and prams."
I think it's something to say that in the early years we're generally quite good at this, but there's always more we can do, and we need to make sure that we're doing what we can to stop these ideas becoming kind of taking hold within those young years. The results of this trial that they did showed that by taking the steps that they took at this primary school, 3 times as many children in the early years perceived football as a game from everyone. That's from 22% thinking it was a game for everyone, up to 70%. Same goes for other toys like dolls, Lego and toy kitchens. And also by taking these steps with staff, they felt more confident talking about gender in the right way.
Yeah, I think those results are super promising, and kind of going forward, the approach to take is looking more into gender messaging, staff training, of course, making sure staff know how to deal with these situations, utilising resources, and also assigning a gender champion, which is something we have mentioned before. You can actually learn more about this whole school approach and what they did to change things on the Lifting Limits website, so we would really recommend that.
So last up, we have a really interesting article in Nursery World all about the childcare market and what went down in 2019. So we had a total of 72 deals, and maybe do you want to run us through what they included?
Yeah, of course. So there was mention of international groups buying into the UK, but also vice versa, with Busy Bees actually expanding into the US and into Italy. Another key kind of takeaway was that more groups seem to be buying up single settings rather than these larger nursery chains. And for 2020, there are predictions of these groups actually buying up other things in the sector. So not just nursery sites, but also things like recruitment training, backup care, and apprenticeships.
I think it's really interesting to see that we're seeing more and more of this increased consolidation of groups, and that now there's not so many nursery chains that are on offer to them anymore, and they're actually starting to go into single settings. I mean, demand is high, investment is high, the earlier sector is going nowhere. Just really hope that in 2020 we're going to see some changes that mean that it's still possible for single settings to survive on their own. So that's it for our very first show of 2020. If you're coming along to the Nursery World show in February or to the Childcare Expo in London in March, make sure to come and find us. I'm going to be there doing some interviews. Our team is going to be there showing off family, including, hopefully, our brand new staff management tool, which we're going to be launching over the next couple of months. So watch out for that.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll see some of you there. Remember to like, comment and subscribe to keep in the loop throughout 2020. And thank you for watching.